right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I'm here with a band that has been on the show before, but it's been a really long time. I mean, I feel like I have a lot of bands on sort of at semi-regular occasions, once every couple of years or so. But I think the last time you were on the show was like 2017 or 2018. It's been a really long time. And so I do have a lot of questions about what you've been up to in sort of the time between now and then, or then and now. But I think the best way to start this off is if the four of you want to introduce yourselves and identify who plays which instrument, so listeners can put a name to the voice, and maybe give a bit of background about the band.
Yo, you want to start, Adam?
Yeah, my name's Adam. I play guitar and sing on like 40% of the songs.
You play guitar and sing. Just leave it at that. I'm Shay. I also play guitar and sing.
I'm Hayden, and I play the bass.
And I'm Derek, and I play the drums.
And this is the same lineup of Confuschia that was there when I talked to you guys many years ago, right?
Yeah, we will die together.
Yeah, there will never be another lineup.
Yeah.
Right on, right on. So I think that until like relatively recently, I wasn't even sure you guys were still actively a band. Like, I mean, your last record came out in I think 2018 as well, right? So it's been sort of a long time since you've put anything out there in the world. What has sort of been the history of the band over the last few years? Have you been actively playing shows and doing stuff, or is this sort of a reignition of sort of your work?
We've been consistently together. We went on tour to Vancouver and back. What year would that have been? 2019?
Yeah, either 2018 or 2019.
Yeah, we just booked like a tour of going like towards Vancouver, doing bars and stuff, and then worked our way back. And then after that, we just started recording. Like Adam set up a really bitchin' studio in his basement, so we were recording independently versus like the last EP we put out, which we did at Exchange Studios.
Yeah.
So cool.
180 of what we did last time.
Yeah, we kind of started emphasizing like taking more time and doing stuff independently and treating recording like a process rather than something we need to like bang out.
The first album or EP was all kind of very much live off the floor, one take, or like a simple overdubbing of like a couple of added instruments. And this time we kind of really went in and single tracked everything and really got kind of dug into learning how to do a bit more production, behind it. So.
Yeah, and then we've just still been working on that, and the last couple of years just flew by.
Yeah, and COVID definitely threw a kibosh because there'd be good chunks of time where we maybe wouldn't see each other to work on stuff. And because of how we chose to do things, it was like it was a more satisfying but slower process. So that's just why we haven't done as many shows, but we've been like within ourselves, like just as active as we ever were.
Cool. Well, it's interesting you talk about the kind of the way that this was recorded compared to the previous EP, because listening to the single that you have out, it definitely sounds different. Like, I mean, in terms of just the overall sound of thing. I mean, stylistically, of course, things change over the years, and you're going to mature and evolve and things like that. But just the overall sound of the way it's recorded, it sounds much more. I was trying to think of a word to describe it, and it sounds kind of like. It sounds kind of cosmic. Like, it sounds really spacey and really kind of. Yeah, cosmic is really the best way I can describe it. Whereas the other stuff sounded a lot more raw, if that makes sense. Like there's a lot. It's a lot more kind of lush, I guess maybe is a good way to describe it.
Yeah, I feel like it sounds like it's gonna sound pretentious to say it, but like I feel like this recording process versus the last one, I feel like all of us kind of think a lot more like composers and arrangers. Like there's a lot more like nuanced approach to like this little moment needs a tiny bit of this to really emphasize it, because it might be a subtle moment in the song, but it needs to be captured and utilized properly. I don't think that's what we were thinking of so much the first EP.
And also naturally with the production, like we kind of went into it not having a clue, and Adam and Derek like definitely took the role of like kind of working hands on the equipment and things like that. And I think it was a bit of a learning process. I'm speaking for them, but so we kind of started to record it, and in that process we were learning how to use the equipment, how to like use effects. So it was kind of all happening all at once, and then in that I think that effect really translated into the way that it sounded. It was like, whoa, look at all the stuff we can do. Let's use it. Let's try. It's like kind of our first dip into like, we got everything here. Let's just fuck with everything.
Yeah. And treating the studio as if it's like an instrument on its own, or like almost like another member of the band. It's like what we can do in the studio is like a whole other element, you know?
Yeah.
And
Well, how does that kind of play with the way the sound has changed musically over the years? Because I mean, the song you have out now, it's long. It's definitely not like, you know, something that's just kind of bashed out. And I mean, it's different, for sure different. I mean, the stuff that was on the previous EP has a lot more of kind of a '90s sort of grunge sound to it. This again is more spacious and spacey, and you know, it's definitely got a different vibe to it. So how has that sort of progressed? How has your sound changed and evolved over the time you've been a band?
Yeah,
like
almost
that.
with doing it the way we've been doing it now, we can almost sleep on a song or just a sound more, so that we potentially put more, you know, thought into the overall process of it.
Yeah.
Rather than before, especially the recording before, it was like just a live show.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like you know, because there's a like with all my favorite bands, there's like a bit of a like juxtaposition between like how stuff sounds on a record and how it sounds live. I feel like live we still sound pretty much the same as we did before, as far as like the energy we put into it and how we approach playing. Like it's still pretty balls to the wall, but it's like, but now there's a whole other element of like how do we make the recording reflect how it sounds in our head and how we want it to translate.
Yeah, this record definitely won't be like reproducible live. It's very much going to be like this is a live this is like you know, the album, and then like when you come to our show, it's going to be like a very stripped down, more raw, like energetic kind of ode to the way that the older recorded stuff sounds, you know.
Well, that was actually kind of my next question. Well, I was going to ask that. Yeah, is it, if it's not something you can do live, then so how do you sort of retool these songs so they can be played live? Is it just you're sort of, are you omitting sections of it that it just can't be played with the four of you, or are you just completely changing structures and altering sort of the basics of the songs?
There's just layers you have to give up, I think, you know. And
Well,
like,
there's like sax parts and like
Piano
piano
parts,
overdubs and stuff that we're just not going to throw.
when we
live.
like we have occasionally, like there's a song on the album called Buttered Toast where, you know, we've played in the past and we've had like a violin playing on, or, you know, playing violin on stage with us, and like adding kind of like noise, which can be like,
yeah.
Or I've tried to play saxophone and sing, but it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like, you know, whenever we can, we just mess around with it. But for the most part, we just, especially with like the way that we've been more focusing on the recording, we haven't really prioritized our live shows as much as of late. So as that kind of shifts, I'm sure we will, like, you know, put this energy. We put a lot of energy into recording and engineering it. So I'm sure that energy will shift towards the live performances. Like once we release music and are willing to like start having more shows and releasing the album for like an event or whatever, you know.
Yeah. Well, and you've also come off a couple of years where your shows weren't happening at all, right? So that's probably another part of it.
Exactly. And like to what you're saying, like I like the whole like restructuring of songs that are not able to be replicated live. It's like once you kind of like, I almost feel like personally anyways, like once you accept that you can't do it exactly the same as the recording live, it's almost kind of freeing, where you're like, now I can just screw around with the song and it's whatever I want it to be tonight. I don't really need to think about doing it accurately because I'm not going to be able to.
Which is a good play, always like nice to have, because like at a root level, we always, I think, like to try to like, you know, keep it in our pocket, the idea of being a jam band, but they're all very structured in like a particular song. So it's like they're particular, they're structured, there's like rigidity, but also then there's the ability for us, it's never the same solo. It's like, oh, we dabble into this layer of this solo this show, or this layer of this one this time, or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that, do you think that's what people who have seen you live kind of want to? I mean, is that sort of the type of show that I mean, I'm sure you enjoy putting on that kind of show, but is that what people expect from you at this point, I guess?
It's the show we all want to watch, you know, like it's like I love seeing a band where like I know that this is the solo section and it's gonna come here, but they might make it last 2 solid minutes, whereas like the recording is 30 seconds, and it's like
something that it feels unique, like you saw the only version of that, you know,
and it'll never happen again, and you're lucky to be part of it, you know.
And then you get the album and you have this completely different version with layers of extra instruments and more kind of that's cool.
Yeah,
So
it would take 8 or 9 people to kind of like have.
Yeah, I do feel like sometimes since we've recorded something a certain way, when we jam it, we tend to also play it that way. Like getting it down on a recording kind of sets it in stone where
right.
you start playing it the same way, something that we used to jam every time. But then there's still, occasions where we just got to change it up.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility of this? I mean, obviously this is in the future, but have you thought about playing any shows and actually trying to replicate it with extra players and extra instruments, or is that just like too much of a huge undertaking to even consider?
I don't think we've ever thought about it.
Well, I feel like because these songs are all quite old, like we wrote them a long time ago, so I feel like we're already moved on. Like we're already looking at writing new stuff, working on new stuff.
Yeah. Like kind of touching back onto what I was saying before, like quite literally, like we were all, I think, whoever had more hands on the engineering type gear or whatever in the computer, it was all new. And then even like through the progression of the songs that are on this album, it's like dramatically different. Like we had originally kind of had the idea of using many more songs and doing a really long, Chili Peppers length kind of album. And then we recognized like, whoa, these are going to sound like two different bands by the time it's done, and not necessarily in a song way, but in a sonic, in like an actual engineer, actual recorded way. So we're like, well, let's cut it here. And then now we have this bag that we can kind of work on for, dabbling into how we're going to record the next one.
And we also, if we were like to, we have probably I would say close to 10 more songs fully written that like we could have recorded, but it's like, like so much time has passed. Like it'd be nice to just like, have something, put it out, and then just like assess and be like, okay, like, do we feel as though these songs like reflect us now? Because like, it's as an artist, it's like it's fine to be like, hey, you know what, this is a great song. I put a lot of work in it. It's fantastic, but like maybe we're just in a different spot now. Well,
that's interesting because what is it like now that you have those feelings and thoughts going on, and yet you're releasing a record in the near future that has all these old songs on it, so you're going to have to play them. I mean, kind of necessarily at every show, in the foreseeable future. Do you want to keep playing these songs, or would you rather just kind of move right on to the next stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Every time, like it's like few and far between now. We're always behind the computer, and like in this moment, like we were just sitting today, you caught us, and we were working on a music video that's all self-recorded and stuff like that, and trying to figure out some music videos. So we've been a lot of behind the computer, behind like a piece of paper, doing snapshots of what we want these visuals to look like to go with it. So it's like it's probably been 3 months since we played these songs, and every time we pick up and practice and do, it's like, damn, it's like I don't even remember. It feels brand new all over again. We say they're old and like they're kind of moving on to new stuff, but then yet whenever we actually pick up our instruments and play them, it's like, holy smokes, this is real fun.
Like at the end of the day, like if you're with a good group of people, you can play the same songs over and over and over again for years, and it's like you still enjoy it because you're enjoying like the people you're playing with more than the song, right?
When it's new to listeners too, right? I mean, the people probably haven't seen you play live in a while, and this record is going to be new to the people who are checking it out. So even if you didn't like them, you're kind of stuck. You're gonna have to play them.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
We had to make sure it was only the ones we really, the timeless ones to us.
Yeah. Certain songs you never get tired of playing at all. There's that one breakdown where it's got that chorus hook that just like you never really get sick of it,
Yeah. When is this actually coming out? I mean, I know you have a song out already. What's sort of the plans for releasing the full thing?
September 1st. We're releasing September 1st at the Handsome Daughter.
Cool. And are you doing physical releases, just digital? It seems like a weird question, but some people, there's no set way to release music these days.
No, we worked with Lyle Kokesh, who's like a collage artist.
Okay.
Because his work's just really great. So we contacted him and said like, hey, we have these sort of rough ideas of like, here's sort of like here's a logo that we've been working with. Here's colors that we like a lot that incorporate really well with our music. Can you find a way to like work this into like some variations of artwork, and then we can kind of build from there. So he gave us some options that were like beautiful, and we found like two that we really liked that were kind of similar. They worked in conjunction, but they were different.
Okay.
So we like, I think we're all kind of old school in that we think of things in like A side, B side, how you open it up and how you look at it. So we designed the album artwork as if there's like a outside front, outside back, outside or inside front, inside back, and the CD, and they all kind of incorporate with each other to create like a bigger piece of art.
Cool.
Like,
So we had to get him for this.
So yeah,
we had, it had to, it necessitated.
We got CDs. Yeah, we got a bunch of CDs in a box.
A
ready to
limited
go.
run CDs.
Yeah.
For now. Until it hits the market, yeah.
How important is it to have that visual element of things? And I mean, like, obviously, it sounds like it is based on the amount of time you spent considering this artwork and stuff. But the reason I asked this too is because, I mean, a lot of people just release music now, and they put whatever as the cover, and it just goes out there into like the random tubes of the internet, and then that's not even a consideration. But clearly, I mean, this is something you've thought about. How important is it to you to have a visual representation that fits what you're doing musically, or at least kind of is connected to what you're doing musically?
It's just like we just like we've consistently got together once a week, if not more, forever. Like since the start of before we recorded the EP, like every Tuesday or every day we could make work, at least once a week, and we just spend a lot of time. So it's like we're just sitting here and we're working on this project together. We just brainstorm, and it's like, why not? What else? Talk, shoot the shit, and then it's like, hey, let's talk about some shit. Let's look at some stuff. Let's try to come up with some ideas and like how this thing would feel to have in your hand or whatever. So it's just like something to do. That's nice. Like, just like these videos that we're working on now. It's just nice to sit together in a room and be creative on a different vessel than just having playing our instruments. It's just nice to do that.
Yeah.
And I feel like making the album art, it's like a way to make the music more important than maybe like being old and being like the older songs. It's like make the art, get the CDs, solidify this, like we're releasing this, put it out there, like
What's something fresh we can add to these songs that gets us almost like more invested in.
Yeah, or like now you have a physical thing, do something with this. Like
yeah,
and it almost is just a natural thing. Like you see a piece of art and it just clicks instantly,
Yeah.
You instantly know it's gonna work for what you want. Too much thought is not necessary there either. Like you instantly know whether it's the one or not.
It goes into the collaborative effort too. Like Lau did the art, but it gave us physical photographs of like a physical collage that was cut from paper, and then we manipulated it together behind a computer with permission, to like do that, and then we're able to kind of like collaborate in that regard of like, here's the analog physical thing, and now we can manipulate it that way, and then that's kind of the same process we're taking with the music videos, like like working with Lee, like Gora Legowski on Instagram, and like getting to do like bring other people in and like give us the opportunity to take a different role in the situation and collaborate with them, but not have them do everything, and then we can kind of come together and cut things up and then make that what we want. Just more stuff to do,
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I don't know, like the visual and physical elements of like the packaging of a piece of music, like an album. Like I've always felt like, especially now with streaming, like so much shit just comes at you and it's in one ear and out the other. You might enjoy it, but you're not gonna really like. It can be really easy to let stuff just pass you that like may have been really worthwhile. And I remember when I was a kid, I'm not from Winnipeg originally, but I'll come to Winnipeg and I look at record stores and I would just like go through and I'd find something that just like felt good in my hands and looked cool. Yeah. And I would buy it and I'd take a gamble. And I remember actually you the other day, like you posted something about This Hisses. Yeah. Like their first album.
Yeah, it's a great album.
Yeah, I remember like that was my first introduction to like Winnipeg music. And it was like I think I met the drummer at a store he worked at and he gave me like a download card or something. But then afterwards I went and found the vinyl album in like a record store. I remember picking it up and like looking at it and just staring at it, and I was like, wow, like, and like even the texture of the album, like the case was like, it was just soft and like velvety and like it was this purple color, and I just couldn't stop staring at it. And I was just like, man, like this, like that was a whole part of the experience. Like I'm gonna take this home, and this is like this cool Winnipeg band that like I like I can't like I was almost like I can't believe something this cool is from like a city I could live in. It's not from LA, it's not from New York. It's like and it's like that. So that whole experience of like picking some up, looking at it and wondering like, wow, I wonder what's in here is like a whole part of it. And it's so fun to create that process in conjunction with the music itself.
Yeah. And like the physical object gives you like an intention. You're like, I'm gonna go and listen to this. Like instead of like, just I'm putting on my phone to play a bunch of music. Like
I'm adding this one song from this one album on this one playlist that I might not listen to again.
Yeah, it's like I got the CD, I'm gonna go check it out.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm with you 100% on that. I'm old and set in my ways, so I still listen to only physical stuff. And other than occasionally something on Bandcamp that I listen to a few times before I get the physical copy. But like, yeah, there's something to be said for it for sure. Of just having, I mean, even if the artwork is not something that's been that well thought out, even just opening it up and then sitting there and putting it on, listening to it from start to finish, rather than just hitting random and then getting a snippet of a record and then moving on to 16 other things before you can even really absorb it.
Exactly, yeah, playing the whole thing through or just having it in your car. And one of my friends got an old 99 Corolla and it's like they don't have the Bluetooth transmitter, and that's what I'm thinking about,
Bust out your best CDs.
Yeah. Awesome. So obviously, the record's not coming out until September. The good thing about this being a podcast is that someone could hear it the day it comes out, or they could hear it a year from now. And by then, maybe you have new stuff coming out, or you got some shows happening, things like that. What's the best way to, first of all, hear your music, and secondly, find out what you're up to as far as shows and things of that nature?
Finding out what we're up to would probably be Instagram.
Instagram,
yeah, just Confuschia Band on Instagram. For our music, we do have like our first EP on Bandcamp. It's not on Spotify yet, but I think from now, like as of the last single, I think like everything we put out, including the album, it's all going to be on Spotify. As well as like, does it also
release a bunch of them?
It goes to Apple Music.
Like
there's a million of them now, right? There's so many of them.
I think we use the like is it CD Baby that just automatically.
Yeah,
I forget which one it was.
DistroKid.
DistroKid.
Yeah, it's on all the streaming services. And stuff. As the singles come out, they'll be dropped, and like we'll post up about like when we set that up to drop and when that's gonna happen and when shows are gonna be and stuff like that. Yeah.
Awesome.